What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Grinderslive here on RotoGrinders. I am Britt Devine here with RotoGrinders basketball game participant Chris Kirkwood. Chris, I saw you out there balling out.
No, you didn't.
I chose to avoid any sort of injury and just I watched it for a little bit and then headed back in there. But what was your experience, dude, at the RotoGrinders party playing some b-ball?
I'm so fat and out of shape, huffing and puffing after the first defensive play. What it did is I've now committed to going to the gym to get in better shape. And I'll be back for next year, and I'll even contemplate juicing for next year.
Anything that
Any
it
edge.
takes.
Yeah, whatever it takes. But I got to lay out Kyle one time, and then I would have. The only thing I regret is not stepping over him. I would have stepped over him, except I thought he was actually hurt for a minute, so I felt bad, and I did the let me help you up thing, but he was fine.
Look at Kirkwood being a nice dude out there on the court. But what we got today, we're going to have a fun little show. I got some things here at RotoGrinders to talk about. We're going to go a little off tangent, talk some tournaments, have a whole lot of fun. I've got my exposures for you. I've got some group talk for you on Lineup HQ. But I got to talk about some promos here. The first thing, we're always doing this likes for free stuff here at RotoGrinders. The suits really like it. So today on the YouTubes, if we get to 200 button clicks on the likes, you get the DVA free tomorrow. So that's the defense versus archetype tool. Will help you sort of pick out specific matchups and everything like that. So start smashing the like button on YouTube. If you're watching us on RotoGrinders, head over there. Help us out. It helps the people get the DVA tool free tomorrow, and that would be a big help to all of us here behind the scenes here at RotoGrinders. And of course, if you like single entry, I'm doing some MME tonight, but if you do like to dabble in the single entry stuff, we have our FanDuel single entry series going. It's just $3. It's in the FanDuel lobby. You get a grand prize at the end of it, and a fun little way to participate with just one entry. Really, truly like the truest form, I think, of DFS, although the 150, the 40 lineups, that stuff's always fun too. But if you want to head on over to FanDuel, jump in the single entry series that we have going on over there. I got some other things to talk about too for promotions. But I want to jump into the slate here with Chris, and I guess we'll start. I've got Lineup HQ pulled up to Chicago, and I've made some serious adjustments to what I view as the minutes and fantasy points for a couple of these guys. I think we're low across the board. I can pull it up in the game flow, but you mentioned to me pre-show that I think you're a little bit down on Zach LaVine, and I'm pretty high on Zach LaVine here. So let's sort of hash this out, see if we can find a middle ground and give the people our two different viewpoints. I'll let you start off first.
I mean, I get the play, right? He's amazing. He's a usage monster for Chicago. The game environment is great, up in pace. New Orleans has been really bad against guards. The thing that I'm thinking about is he's just going to be so chalky tonight. And one thing I've noticed is that in these games since Dunn went down, I mean, his usage has been way down just over these last 3 games. His results have been meh. And there is Drew Holiday, who is a very good defender that is very capable of just sticking to him. And there's not many other scoring threats. So this may be a clamp down on Zach LaVine type of game, and he may underperform is my thought. And so therefore I'm thinking about fading him tonight. But I get it from the minutes, the usage. And I mean, we saw what Joker did with just 7 bodies last night. I mean, that's fresh in everybody's head. I mean, I don't know if everyone expected that outcome. I certainly didn't. But man, the Jazz are just really funny. I mean, they got wrecked by a Hardenless and Westbrookless Rockets, and then they lose. Yeah, all 3. And then last night.
Who would have thought, just to demote the Jazz to the G League, I would have never thought the Jazz players would have allowed that to happen 2 times in a row to a team just completely out. But, hey, it did here. I'm going to play, I don't know, devil's advocate, but I'm going to play the chalkier side of Zach LaVine tonight. So, you go to the game flow. If you're looking at his minutes the past couple of games here, there's, I think, I'm basically expecting 38 to 40 minutes out of him tonight if the game stays close. So This was the last game he played, 33, basically 34 minutes, and he missed out on, 4.5 minutes here. So he's basically right at 38 minutes in this game, in theory, if that's a close game. You go to the game before that, he's at 36 minutes. Again, he misses out on 3.5 minutes. So he's basically at 39.5 minutes if this game stays close. And I just think if you keep going back, I think the game before this was an OT game. Dude played 44.5 minutes, 39.5 minutes in regulation here. I just think we're a little bit too low. We had him at 37 minutes. I bumped him up to 38 minutes. I think if you want to give him like 38.5, if you think the game's going to stay close, I think that's pretty good. You can see over here in my tournament builds, we've got him projected at 33%. Chris, I'm the opposite. I'm jamming in 50% Zach LaVine tonight. I think we're just a little bit too low on his minutes. I know his usage is down, so maybe the rates behind the scenes might not be right. I think that's probably why I didn't give him like 39 minutes, right? So I sort of adjusted an extra minute. I just think he's out there for 39, 40 minutes if the game stays close. And I want a part of that. And I can kind of expand on that somewhere in my groups here. Let me find it. So I made this. If Zach LaVine hits a lineup, right? So he's in like at least 50% of my lineups. I want to make sure I have some firepower from the other side here. I want the game to, in theory, be close. So I'm jamming in one of the big guns from the Pelicans, up to 3 of them. I like this game quite a bit. I think LaVine has himself a nice game. I'm running it back with the Pelicans in a pretty easy thing on that. The other thing, too, is I guess we can expand on some of the other value plays in Chicago. Is one I think we're short on minutes on basically a couple of the main guys. So I gave Thad Young, an extra little bit. I gave Satoransky an extra little bit. How many Bulls is too much, right? Like if I'm doing cash games too on Draftkings. That's the only place I'm playing tonight. You can put 5 Bulls in your cash games. I think that's a fine build. But in tournaments, I've actually limited it to just 3 Bulls. So the cash game, right, you're playing the attrition. You're just getting all the fantasy points by, in theory, playing 5 Bulls. The thing in tournaments, 4 or 5 Chicago Bulls, I don't really think they all get there. So I limited it to 3, and I'm sort of rotating them around. What do you think an approach to that would be?
Yeah. So you heard my thoughts. So I'm not saying that Zach LaVine isn't a good play. Like I get the minutes, and I think, like you said, if this game stays close, the minutes are certainly going to be there. I mean, he's going to take as many as he can absolutely handle. I just think that maybe, I also think that I think the Pelicans are going to run him out. So I'm not sure if this one stays that competitive, but I just think they match up really well. But I'm looking to some of the other guys, which is to kind of, if I'm going to be fading LaVine or at least being underweight, then I'm looking for some of the other guys to leverage off of that. And some of those guys, I mean, it's tough, right? Because this team, we don't have a bunch of any other real like ball scorers left. So a guy like Kobe White, I think, is an interesting value. Chandler Hutchinson, he's gonna that play, I think, is a good play. It just feels a little weird. It's chalk. Like this isn't the same chalk as we've had the other nights where it's just been absolute smash chalk. I mean, there's some question marks here. Luke Cornett, Thad Young, Satoransky is probably the guy I have the most faith in. But Chandler Hutchinson is a pretty good player. He was a 22nd pick, had some, decent pedigree. He is a scorer. He's just been battling injuries throughout his entire career so far, but they invested in this guy and they want him to become a starter. And this is kind of his opportunity and he's looked pretty good. So I do think that he's a good play, and I think that he'll have a pretty good game here tonight.
Yeah, I like Hutchinson. I want to go back to sort of some of the groups I made for tournaments because you got to be pretty careful with the Bulls. I think I've got them down here with who you play in which lineups, right? So in your cash games, you can just sort of basically play all the minutes, but you really got to pay attention in tournaments, right? Like, so basically Felicio and Cornett, they sub in and out for each other. I don't want to play those two in the same lineup. Kobe White and Satoransky might be a little different tonight, but in general, they basically, one's on the court, one's not on the court for basically 90% of the game. So I'm not playing both of them in the same lineup. I'm handling, I mentioned I like LaVine quite a bit here, but I think it's really important to think about, go look through court IQ sort of like I did and see who's on the court together and don't get those guys in the same lineup. So think about that a little bit when you're doing this as well. And I want to talk about Kobe White because he had like one good game all season. I know he's 3,800 on DraftKings. He's going to be heavily owned. I wouldn't say I'm taking a stand, but I've put he's 31%. I have a max of 20%. He's just not someone I'm thrilled to really roster, very shooting dependent. I'm hoping his shot doesn't fall. When these shooter type players get to like 30% ownership, I'm fine going a little under. So I guess I'm taking a little bit of a stand on Kobe White. He's one of my more, I guess, chalkier fades. I still have 20%, so it's not like I'm not playing him at all. But I'm a little underweight on Kobe White today.
I get it, but I think that they're going to need scoring, and he's a scorer, right? Like to me, it's that simple. It's like, so we're up in pace. There's going to be a lot of extra shots here. They're going to have to keep up with scoring, and they don't have, Denzel Valentine is another loss for a scorer. If yes, you're saying that you think it's going to be all LaVine. I'm thinking they're going to clamp on LaVine a lot, and so it's going to be guys that are going to be getting open shots. And White is a candidate. Hutchinson's a candidate. Cornette is someone that could potentially could lose favors out behind the 3-point arc, and will be jacking up shots here. So I'm looking for scores, and White is a scorer, and he's cheap. So I think he probably outperforms his salary by a pretty good margin here.
Yep. So I just want to reiterate, right, in cash games on DraftKings, right, I'm looking right now. I got 5 Chicago Bulls on my cash team, right, because there's just so much value, up and pace, everything Chris just talked about. Tournaments, I've limited it to 3, and just cycling through 3 of them, right, and it's just that's just how I feel. I don't think 4, like people are going to be playing tournaments out there with like 5 Bulls, and I just don't. There's almost no way 5 players from the same team all get there, no matter what their salary is, unless the game goes to double overtime. So I've limited it to 3, cycling them through there. I want to jump to the Pelicans side because, again, I think we were short on a couple of these guys' minutes here. So we had Brandon Ingram at 36 or at 35. I gave him 36. It doesn't seem like a lot, but that basically in tournaments it really adds a lot of percentage points to Brandon Ingram and the overall ownership. Lonzo Ball, we had at 35. I juiced him up to 37. Hart, I gave a little bit extra to. I'm a little lower on favors. I actually reduced his sort of stuff a little bit here, and I pulled up the Pelicans. And I want to show show the people what kind of happened here. So Brandon Ingram in his last game played 35 and a half minutes. And we have him at 35 minutes. And so like right here, this little period, the bench got hot and basically took 2 to 3 of his normal minutes away. They just sort of stuck with a bench unit as they sort of came back against Milwaukee. If you go to the game before that, which also had Zion in there for a good amount of time, you can see Ingram was at 38 minutes. And that's more what I expect to happen tonight. I'm expecting Brandon Ingram to go out there and play 38 minutes. And I think his fantasy point potential is basically right in line with Zion when you get into minutes. If I bump him up even more, he would basically become a 100% player, and I'd really have to reduce his exposure. But at 17% ownership tonight, I actually had to cap him at 50% just to not get too much of him. He's one of my favorite leverage plays of the night. I think Lonzo is really interesting. You could look at the game flows again here too, and you'll see Lonzo 37 minutes in this game. This was against Houston, against the Pelicans, or against Milwaukee. Where's Lonzo? 38, 82, basically 39 minutes. And we had him sitting here at 35 minutes. I think that's at least 2 minutes too low. I jumped him up a little bit. And I'm starting to, I think it was somewhere around like 20% Lonzo. I like the Pelicans. I like LaVine. This is my favorite game to target. I guess that's my spiel. I'm underweight on favors. How are you approaching the Pelicans side?
Man, I do like some of these Pelicans. I mean, first of all, we know that we target the front court against the Bulls, right? Like they're just horrendous. And from a DVP, from a defense archetype standpoint, all of it, they're dead last in DVP against the power forward, dead last against the center. I think this is a good bounce back spot for favors after being completely irrelevant the other night when he was chalky. This is a good game environment for him. He should be able to clean up on the boards. Bulls are also 28 in opponent blocks per game, 20th in opponent steals. So high potential for defensive stats in this one. The only problem is his usage does take a tick a little bit down with sharing the court with Zion, as to be expected.
Yeah, on the court IQ, people say he's like over a fantasy point per minute player. The last 2 weeks, he's like 0.9 fantasy points per minute. I don't know. I just see him sort of fading. We have some very different views on tonight. So one of us is going to do well. One of us is going to do pretty bad. But I'm definitely underweight on favors. He's coming in at 12. I almost X'd him out. I capped him at 5% tonight.
Well, I like him tonight. But I also like Zion, and I also love Drew Holiday. So Drew Holiday is probably going to match up with Zach LaVine. This is normally he would probably get some Chris Dunn on him. So this is a big upgrade. He should be able to not only have the potential for steals with such a high usage player like LaVine, having to guard him and trying to lock him down, but he should be able to do what he wants in the offensive end. Now, obviously, the front court is the real advantage. So that's where the plays are. But I think Holiday gets his. He's cheap. He's 7,100 on DK. He's cheap on a bunch of sites. So I like him. I know Lonzo's getting a lot of love because of recent performance. I just think from a matchup standpoint, I'd rather go with Holiday in this one.
Yeah, I like Holiday too. I like all the Pelicans. This is easily my favorite game to target on this one. I want to mention too, I do like Josh Hart. He's closed the past 2 games, 3 straight games of sort of like an uptick in minutes. He's not even really shooting too hot. He's sort of getting there on rebounds. Maybe Favors grabs a couple of these, but Hart's a pretty good rebounder as well. So I don't mind Hart. You got to juice. You got to actually click him in or juice his projection up a little bit to get some if you're MMEing. But I do like Hart as well. This is, like I said, one of my favorite games of the night. I want to go over, it looks like the Knicks are sort of like the next topic chat's talking about on YouTube. And again, guys, if you are on YouTube, click the like button. If we get to 200 likes, we will allow the defensive versus archetype tool to be free for everybody tomorrow. So please click that if you would like to participate in some free stuff from RotoGrinders. I want to go over to
hit the like button for me, please.
Yeah, for Chris too.
Thank you. If you like the shows that we do, I give out my lineups pretty much on Yahoo Plays. I try to be as completely transparent as possible. Hit the like button.
All right, so the Knicks here are slightly interesting, right? We got Marcus Morris gone, Doxson's out, and it's really pushing guys like Reggie Bullock and Kevin Knox to good point per dollars. They're getting ownership, and I think you can just get out of hand if you play too many of these guys. So Bullock has just been a pretty horrible fantasy player. This is a tough matchup against Orlando. I know he's cheap. Sure, you can give him a couple extra fantasy points because there's some extra shots to go around tonight. Knox is an absolutely atrocious real-life NBA player. Sure, he's going to see a slight uptick in minutes, but even in 20 minutes, dude can drop single-digit fantasy points. He's a little scary bit of a proposition. The guys I really like are Mitch Robinson, Julius Randle. Robinson's got, it seems like he's upped in ownership quite a bit over the last hour. I'm expecting him to start. If he's going to start, as long as he stays out of foul trouble, I like his minutes. He can easily outperform those too. The smash rating on him is pretty high at 27%. And Randle, right? Like Randle's going to go. He's going to play a bunch of minutes. I think his shot attempts probably inch up a little bit with Marcus Morris gone. I think I'm more likely to invest in the known quantities in New York than mess around too much with the Bullocks, mess around too much with Kevin Knox.
Bullock could get there. I think so when we take Marcus Morris out of this lineup, we take a pretty high usage player for the Knicks. I mean, this guy was averaging about 18 shots a game for like the last 10 games or something like that. So there's definitely shots to go around. Who's going to get him? Is it going to be Elf? No, right? Like Elf's just very timid on the offensive end. He's going to set people up. Julius Randle, yes, right? Randle's going to take on some extra for sure. I mean, the guy, if there's any room to take over, he wants to take them over. That guy will steal rebounds from his own teammate. Very fantasy friendly. So I love Randle. Mitchell Robinson. It is about time for the Knicks to free this man, right? Give this guy minutes. I can't remember. I mean, there's been one game where he had like 6 fouls against Brooklyn like a while back, but like he's been good on the defensive end. He's been battling. He's been under the weather this week. He was battling a little bit of an injury in the past couple of games. But if he's good to go tonight, like he's cheap, 4,600. He's 16 on Yahoo. He's cheap on FanDuel. Like it's just time, and it's not the best matchup. But you give this guy minutes, then they're gonna find him, right? Like he's so easy. He's gonna get his defensive stats, and there's just alley-oop dunks to be had for him, regardless of who he plays.
Yeah, the court IQ is definitely not favorable. -6 fantasy points per 36 on Robinson, and that's in 174 minutes with everybody out. But, like, I think you got to use a little bit of common sense. There's something fluky going on there because there's no way Mitch Robinson should be losing that fantasy point potential when you take these guys off the court. You can see Randall has a pretty healthy uptick of 7 fantasy points per 36 with all these guys off the court. That is a huge, huge boost to Julius Randle if you're looking to get a little leverage. I know it's a tough matchup, but he's pretty interesting from a tournament perspective. And I would much prefer Bullock over Knox. I think I have, at least in ownership, I have Bullock twice as owned as Knox. I don't have a ton of either, but Bullock is my preferred option. Knox sees some, but he's just horrible. I know Bullock's also horrible, but he's a little better than Kevin Knox. So I think I would much more likely to use Bullock over Knox, and I think you would probably agree with that, right?
I mean, and it's just hard if Barrett's out in this one. It's just that just frees up more minutes for Bullock. Correct. You know he's going to shoot the 3, and so on DraftKings at 3,500 with the 3-point bonus, if you give him an uptick in minutes, he should be fine.
All right,
Knox is iffy.
Yeah, so I want to go to my sharp side bet of the day. I guess we'll cover yours too, and that is going to be Aaron Gordon rebounds. So we got a fun contest on Sharpside. Download the app, and just by clicking a free lock bet every day, you can get a little streak going. And if you get a certain amount right, we start giving you free money. I think it's over on FanDuel. So I like the over on Aaron Gordon rebounds. It's at 6.5. And with, Marcus Morris is out of the way here. Gordon's playing some more minutes. He's got over 6.5 in 4 of his last 5, and the other one he hit 5 rebounds. I think we're a little too low on maybe his overall fantasy point projection today. I boosted him up. I'm trying to get him a little bit. But if you're looking for a lock bet, I like Aaron Gordon over on the rebounds. We'll get over to the Portland game in a little bit, but tell me a little bit about your lock of the day.
I'm just taking I locked in Hassan Whiteside for over 12.5 rebounds in this one. They're kind of thin for bigs. San Antonio, 27th in opponent defensive rebounds per game, 29th in opponent defense rebounding percentage. I just think this is a game where he grabs a bunch of boards. The line looked a little bit low for me, so that's where I locked in.
Yeah, so get on over to Sharp Side. 2 streaks of 0. Yeah, that's right. I don't do it too often, right? I focus on other things, but hey, it's free stuff for you guys. And if you got a chance to win some free cash, you might as well go participate in it. I guess I want to go to earlier in the day, one of my more leveraged players, and that was Joel Embiid on DraftKings. He's 9,100 tonight. And let me go. I'm going to pull something up. It's from a different site. But you guys should be able to see this here. So this is Joel Embiid versus Brook Lopez over his last couple of games here. These are fantasy point totals. Are you ready, Chris? I got 90.8. I got 61, 70, 78, 84, and a paltry 55. The dude is crushing the absolute living daylights out of Brook Lopez in all of their last 6 matchups. I don't understand why he is 9,100 on DraftKings today. I have boosted him up. Earlier, I was like 3x the field. Now he's 20%. I have a minimum of 35%. I'm going to boost that up and make sure I get a little bit more. I want to double the field up on Joel Embiid today.
Yeah, I like him. I understand why his price is low. It's been from recent performance. I mean, the guy's kind of been struggling this season overall in general. But I think this game is going to be extremely competitive. I hope it's a competitive just because Philly's on the road. But the Philly did handle them, Christmas Day. Now I'm sure Giannis is going to have a little bit of a revenge because he played so poorly, at least from a shooting standpoint in that game. So, but this is a big battle of the powerhouses in the East, so you got to hope this one stays competitive. It's just that their bench is just It's just a little bit thin.
That's why I like Embiid. I mean, 28 minutes on Christmas Day, 55. Imagine if he plays like 31 or 32 tonight. I just think Embiid is one of the best spots in the night to get a little bit of leverage. I am very high on Embiid. I'm really hoping that they can keep this game within 10 down the stretch against Milwaukee. How do you see this game playing out? We can sort of talk about the whole thing. I think there's some interesting plays. You got George Hill out, so I think Eric Bledsoe's minutes are still pretty safe. I think you can mess around with Giannis. I think, if this game stays close, Giannis is on a tear, 60-plus fantasy points in, 6 of his last 7 games. And if dude plays 31 to 33 minutes, I mean, I don't see how he doesn't have 60-plus fantasy points at the end of it.
Yep. I think you're going to see a good game. Now, they do have the medicine for him, the Al Horford, that is pretty good at overall, throughout his history at locking down Giannis. But I think you're going to see a lot of fire because I think he definitely remembers that Christmas performance. And so, it's hard not to like him. He's a little bit expensive on all sites. So it's like we've got a bunch of studs on the slate, which makes it really interesting. So he's going to be lower owned because it's just kind of hard to get there, but should certainly be in play for game stacks and play in general. So I'm going to go it's only a 5-game slate, so we can get into all this type of stuff. So I've got, if Giannis hits one of my lineups, and I think I boosted it, I made sure he's showing up in like 15% of my lineups or something like that. You have to run it back with at least one of like the good players, right? On Philadelphia, I don't think I would ever make a lineup that has Giannis that doesn't include at least one of like the known quantities on Philadelphia. Simmons, Embiid, or would you throw Simmons, Embiid, and Tobias? Because then you're going to get a lot of Tobias.
So my thoughts were, well, I like Embiid. If I boost up his projection, I'll get him anyway. So my thoughts are basically any of them. So I'm not going to get too much Giannis. I guess I can go back and look and see what those lineups look like. But I don't mind getting a little bit of Horford or Harris in there because they're a little cheaper. And then the rest of my lineup is sort of strong too. I just want somebody that has good fantasy point potential from Philadelphia if I'm using Giannis. So that was a little group I set up today.
Yeah, makes sense.
You think I should just make that Embiid and Simmons?
No, because I think Tobias could certainly. I think it's those 3. I think it would be all 3 of them, and then just see if you get two. Because you're probably not going to get a ton of Giannis.
Yeah, I had to force him into 15%. He's going to, we got him at 20% owned. So I'm not even really making like a big stand on it. I'm just making sure I get some. And I think Bledsoe is pretty interesting. I know his prices come up, and I know Simmons is a halfway decent defender. But it looks like our projection moved up. So I'll at least get in line with our projection. At least I thought I was going to. Any of the fringe plays with George Hill out? Would you rather play Wes Matthews, Kevin Knox? There's all like these little $3,100 to $3,600 players today. I guess, do any of the fringe options, like a Matthews, a DiVincenzo, enter consideration for you?
Maybe DiVincenzo, but Bledsoe, maybe. And Bledsoe's tough, right? Like his price is kind of a little bit high. He doesn't get big minutes, but you do have to like that George Hill is out. And so he wasn't available when they played on Christmas Day. I mean, the fringe ones would only be DiVincenzo. I'm not going for Kyle Korver. I'm not going for Connaughton. I'm not going for Wes Matthews. I mean, it would be like Middleton or Bledsoe. And I'm probably going to stay clear of Brolo too.
All right. Don't forget, guys, going over to FanDuel, we got that single entry series, one lineup, fair playing field. RotoGrinders sponsored. Go find that over on your FanDuel lobby. Let's go to the Portland sort of area because you like Whiteside. I like Whiteside. Whiteside's going to be, let's see here. Is he going to be the highest owned center? I would imagine he ends up being the highest owned center on the slate today. So let's see. So we got Aldridge, who's 6,500. We can cover him in this game as well. And we got Whiteside. So you had the over and rebounds. He had a little bit of a bad game. Portland as a whole had a bad game. I'm expecting him to basically bounce right back into these, mid-ish 32 to 35 minutes. And if you're getting that, he's got huge upside. He's just 8K. He should probably be more in like the 8,400, 8,500 range. So you're getting a little bit of a discount. He's popular. He's reasonably priced. I think he's worth sort of going over the ownership tonight.
Yeah, I like him a lot in this matchup. San Antonio is playing a little bit faster this season, but this is a game the pace should fit him perfectly. So this is a kind of a spot where I like Whiteside. I also do like Aldridge for a bounce back here. He absolutely ruined everybody the other night. He is going to be chalky, which is then immediately makes you kind of feel a little bit sick to your stomach to play. But you do get the revenge factor. He does have good history against Portland. He matches up well in this game. And this is just a great bounce back spot. And he's so cheap, right? Like he's 6,500. So like 40 fantasy points would be great tonight. And I think that's easily within his range of outcomes and a lot higher as well.
Yeah, if he would have had, he was popular this night too. If he would have had even a reasonable performance, he would be like $7,000 tonight based on how the algorithm works with ownership and performances. So you get the discount one more night. He's chalky. I'm fine being at or above. I don't really think you need to take a hard stand fading Aldridge. You mentioned the revenge. I think he's got quite a bit going for him today. Some of the fringier options, let's talk about them. I saw a bunch of people talk about Trevor Ariza. So Ariza is, let's see here. So Ariza is a small forward. I'm going to pull up all the small forwards and sort by ownership. So you've got the Reggie Bullocks, the Chandler Hutchinsons, the Kevin Knox, and the Trevor Ariza. If you had to pick one to play the most minutes tonight, I think it's pretty clearly Trevor Ariza. There's some reasons why his minutes were down in each of these games. Now, his usage, single digits it can be and things like that. He had a couple of good games here, which put some people on him where he played a lot of minutes. Where do you see his minutes going tonight? If he jumps back up into the, 33 to 35, he even played 38 and 35 in these and 39. Where do you rank him in sort of the hierarchy of all these cheapish small forwards people are just jamming in tonight?
I think he's going to play huge minutes as long as this game stays close. I think he's locked into this role. This is what, this was a great fit for him. And so they need him to be out there, and they're fine. They've already showed 38, 39 minutes. They've let this guy run. So I think 30-plus minutes as long as this game stays close. These last two games, one against Denver and one against Utah, were both blowouts. And so obviously he rested. He's an older player and a starting player, so they didn't need him out there. But I think he's an awesome play tonight. The Spurs, 22nd in defensive rating, 24th in opponent-made threes per game. They're going to be doing some kind of doubling on Dame in this game. When they hum that ball around, it finds Ariza in the corner, and he's going to be shooting it. And so you just need him to hit a couple. Plus, he's always in play to get defensive stats. He's a decent rebounder as well. So, I like Ariza. I think he makes a great pivot over like guys like Hutchinson, anybody in that range that's going to be chalky.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to be lower owned of basically, the popular small forwards. So if you have, if you're MMEing or you're playing 10 lineups, right? If you go like 30% Ariza and 20% Bullock and Ariza outdoes him even by like 3 or 4 fantasy points, I think that's reasonable leverage. He still costs a little bit more. He's not 3,500. He's 4,300. But simply just getting a couple extra fantasy points than the really chalky Reggie Bullock, which, let's be real, isn't really a hard thing to do, is certainly in Ariza's wheelhouse tonight. So
this is by far my favorite game stack.
All right, yeah. So keep talking on it. Who else you like?
Tight spread. They're both poor defensive teams. It's got a decent total. You have to like Dame. You don't want to play Dame and CJ together, but like I said, we like Aldridge, we like Whiteside. Melo has just been awful and declining, so I'm all set with Melo. And so those are the key guys I'm keying in on. And DeMar DeRozan, obviously. So Aldridge and DeRozan could get there at their prices in this game, but it makes sense to play one or the other. But I'm not on this 5-gamer. I'm not opposed to just jamming in a bunch of these guys with their prices and just hoping this game shoots out.
Let me show you right if you're on DraftKings tonight. So DeRozan is the swerve off of LaVine. You save $500. LaVine's 33% projected ownership. I'll take probably the over in your average large field tournament over there tonight. And DeRozan is coming in at 4% right now too. So you don't even need a lot of DeRozan. If you set up 15 or 20%, I've got a minimum of 12. I'll probably up that a little bit. I love DeRozan as a swerve tonight. He's the LaVine swerve. You get 500 extra bucks too. Now I absolutely love LaVine, but I'm going to be playing a lot more, I think, DeRozan than the rest of the field tonight. So I am definitely on board with you on that one. I want to go over a couple guys you probably shouldn't be playing together on the Spurs. So let's start here. Don't play the point guards, White and Murray together. Those guys, you got to set something up if you're MMEing or if you're clicking lineups. Don't make sure you play them. I don't play Patty Mills and Bryn Forbes in the same lineup either. And then I want to get your thoughts on this one. So if Damian Lillard hits my team, I made sure I had one of the big guns on San Antonio. Do you think that's a nice rule to have in there?
Yeah, I like that. Definitely.
Yeah. So if Lillard, then DeRozan or Aldridge, or
you'll probably get Aldridge anyway, even if you didn't make that rule.
But. Correct. I just want to make sure I'm getting something like that. So I think we covered that game pretty well. Are you playing any of the point guards, the Rudy Gays, the Trey Lyles, or you're sticking to the more of the known quantity? It's always tough. One of the 4 Spurs guards always has a good game, but I think if you try to play them, you're probably always going to end up on the wrong side of it.
The feel gross play for me that I definitely would have interested in. Actually, there's 2. Would be Bryn Forbes or Patty Mills.
Mm-hmm.
They're both cheap. They both can shoot the 3. Portland is 26 in opponent made threes per game. So this game has a sneaky good pace to it. The Blazers have been playing faster this season. The Spurs have been playing faster this season. Both teams are terrible at defending the 3-point line. Both teams are really poor, just overall defensive teams. So I think there's a lot of goodness to be found in this game. So like a guy like Patty Mills wouldn't surprise me if he comes in and gets hot and then pop rides the hot hand.
Let's talk real quick about the final game of the night. We got word that Westbrook's in. He was at 5% ownership earlier. I see in the latest update we've juiced that up quite a bit, and we've knocked Harden down a pretty significant amount. So I guess we can talk about how are you handling the players in this game. LeBron, you've got 80 at 9,700. They're both, reasonably owned, 25-ish%. Harden's down here at 9. The 12-4 price is pretty tough to stomach with Westbrook in there. But, I mean, there are some rebounds to be had with Capella out. I don't even know. I don't think I even hit any Harden in my lineups tonight.
Well, I mean, it's tough with Westbrook coming back, but this is a 5-game slate, so either one of these guys could be the highest scoring play on the slate. So you may want to adjust that and get a little. But the question I have is Covington going to play? I heard conflicting reports. Is the last report they said he was probably playing, correct?
Yeah, I think he's going to end up playing tonight. It's like what role? How does he get affected?
Yeah, so I'm trying to think matchups, how many minutes he actually will play out there. But, he's going to end up guarding AD. AD is going to have massive mismatches just from a height standpoint in general.
AD's playing center tonight. I'm a little worried that I took McGee and Howard out of my pool tonight. I think those guys basically get run off the floor.
Yeah, maybe, but this may be the team that can actually take advantage of a short PJ Tucker because they have guys who can set up these bigs really well, like LeBron and like Rondo on a national TV game, who may be motivated in this one. So they have, in the pace play, with the Rockets and pace, there's a lot of potential assists here for these guys, and these bigs could get a lot of dunks around. So it could be McGee, it could be Howard. Maybe it happens like the last couple of games where the games have just gone smaller, but I could see the Lakers actually exploiting this mismatch. Yeah, and I think AD is just going to be a mass. He's good in at these faster pace. He's definitely in play for blocks and steals, and he's just going to have matchup nightmare. For Houston all game.
AD and LeBron are great plays. I typically I think I have a rule set up to not play them together in the same lineup. I find it hard that both of them get like 70 fantasy points unless the game goes to OT or something like that. So I tend to not play them in the same lineup, but I do think both are good plays. Are you buying into Kuzma sort of having a couple of big games? Are you buying into Rondo at all? Right, if you seem to think maybe the game stays, Jordan Howard or Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee stay on the court. I think I'm buying in a little bit to Rondo's minutes staying in like the 22-ish range right now, specifically in this game. So I gave him a little bit of bump. He's going to be 8%. I'm going to be a little bit over on Rondo. So he's someone that's cheap that I don't think a lot of people are playing that I actually don't hate tonight.
Yeah, I like Rondo tonight in this one. Like, I just like the pace. I just like the potential for assists with this one. I think there's matchup nightmare all over the court for him, so he's going to be able to rack up assists in this one. So I think there's a case to be made that he gets a decent amount of minutes in this one and is a good play. Now, I do have some interest in Robert Covington, and I don't think anyone's really going to play him tonight. But depending on who guards him, like, he's probably going to be able to get get open for a lot of threes. Oh, yeah. And he's going to be chucking in his first game, try to prove something here as a good fit. And that the Rockets are going to want to get him going. So I could see him having a good game if he can stay out of foul trouble.
Yeah, LeBron, I don't know if he was joking, but he expects the Rockets to take like 63 pointers a game, basically the rest of the way out to close
they're smart, man. They're taking an edge and they're pressing it and they're going all in on it and they're going smaller and faster. And I think it's, people are saying, why did you, I've always thought Capella was overrated and I've always thought that Harden made him. And so I think it was a good move, to be honest.
All right. Again, guys, don't forget, if you get up to 200 likes on the YouTube, we will make the DVA, that's defense versus archetype tool, free for everyone on RotoGrinders tomorrow. Gives you some matchup data versus ball handlers and post players and all types of stuff to sort of get you. I think we got a nice slate on a Friday tomorrow. So if you want to get, be able to read that for free and you're not a premium member, click the like button on YouTube. We get to 200 of those, and we'll make that free for everybody tomorrow. So we've got a little bit of time left. I guess I sort of want to go over some of my thoughts on GPPs, and maybe you can, give me some ideas on what I'm doing tonight here. So I'm on Draftkings. I'm playing 220 maxes, so just 40 lineups tonight. The wife, she's busy. I can't get her. We can't get 80 lineups tonight, so we're just stuck at 40. But here's a couple of
you were gonna kill that joke. You already have killed that joke. You're just never gonna stop, huh?
No, it's on forever. So I capped Aldridge at 60. I think some nights I will play 100% of a player, and I just don't feel like tonight's a night to do something like that. So, but playing like 60% Aldridge is a salary play. I already mentioned that I like LaVine quite a bit here, so I'm a pretty reasonable amount over the field. I do expect LaVine to maybe creep a little bit higher than that. It looks like my one big leverage one is once I adjust the minutes on Brandon Ingram, I really expect him to have a good game should this stay close, and it also correlates. If LaVine and Ingram are popping in a lot of my lineups, I think there's some pretty good correlation there. Couple of Bulls. I got your boy Whiteside. I know you like Mitchell Robinson. He's in here. LeBron's in. I need more Anthony Davis in my life. If the field's gonna have him at 23%, I want a minimum of 20%. I think I'm actually gonna go in and I'm gonna give Anthony Davis a couple more fantasy points tonight because I need to get some Anthony Davis in my lineups tonight, Chris.
Yeah, I think you should have him. He's over on Yahoo. It's the lineup builds that I'm on it's either Embiid or Anthony Davis right now.
I would take AD in that one. I love Embiid, but I would take Anthony Davis over Embiid for sure.
Well, there's a $12 price difference.
Oh, all right, yeah. So I love Embiid, so I'm going to make sure on that one. If I go back, I think I had 33% Embiid, but I upped it. I want to make sure I have plenty of Embiid too. I got some LeBron, a couple guys, right? Michael Carter-Williams, we didn't spend too much time on him. He's starting to get some extra minutes, and he's, a liability, on the court in a couple other areas. But the dude can produce for us fantasy wise tonight. He's 3,900, and he's sort of in like the, do you want to play him or Reggie Bullock or Kevin Knox or Trevor Ariza? Do you have a take specifically on MCW tonight?
I prefer Markelle Fultz. I know just a chalky MCW. He's going to be somewhat chalky. He's getting love, right? Like everybody's because we're kind of looking for value everywhere. And yeah, he's going to get those backup minutes, but I mean, that feels pretty gross to me at somewhat decent ownership. I'd rather just stick with like the known quantities for a little bit more with Fultz and Fournier. Or prefer even a Terrence Ross.
A couple of people are asking about Shake Milton, and you're just chasing this 46 fantasy point game with Shake Milton, and that was the.
I told everyone not to play him the last show I did, and that was the night he went absolutely nuclear.
Yeah, so like I feel like you're just chasing this if you're playing it. He shot really well, 58%. He got to the line 10 times too. He basically went back to his normal, he hasn't gotten to line in 2 of his 5 games right here. So he's going to play like 29, 30 minutes, but I think these 2 games are much more of what you can expect out of Shake Milton than the 46. So I liked him a little in theory, right? When he was 42 and 41, I still don't think this 47 is reasonable enough. If you get a couple of them in a big exposure build, sure. I knocked his projection down a little bit too to make sure I'm basically not getting any. He's someone I think I'm going to end up having no exposure to tonight.
Yeah. I mean, this is a different matchup. This is a tough matchup. He went off against the Hawks. That was about as good of a matchup for guard play as you can get. They obviously need to get their bench going. They made the trade for it. The writing's on the wall. This is a important game, at least for egos, if anything else, with these 2 East powerhouses meeting. So I think sticking to the regulars makes the most sense here and try to find some, I'd rather play like a Bobby Portis. Like I'd rather play somebody that I know has upside, that has the chance to capitalize on, with Marcus Morris being out. Let's
look. 4,700. Shake's 4,700. Give me Josh Hart 100 out of 100. Well, maybe not 100, but 80 out of 100 times over Shake for 200 more. Give me Mitchell Robinson unquestioned.
Yep.
Give me Ariza. Give me Hutchinson for less. Like, how do you even find room for Shake Milton in your lineups tonight?
You don't.
Yeah. So I have no Shake Milton. If you guys got any questions, right, hit us up in the YouTubes. Click the like. We just got to know RJ Barrett is available for tonight's game. So it's going to be Peyton, Nicolina, Bullock, Randall, and Taj Gibson starting. So your boy Mitchell Robinson did not get the start.
And he's never going to get this. They're never going to let this guy
I don't know why. Does this concern you at all that he's not? I thought he might end up starting tonight. So
no, I didn't expect him to start whatsoever. I just want to see an uptick in minutes and let the guy rip. And I think that's still in play. I mean, what are they doing playing Taj? It's the dumbest thing I've ever.
They're just their whole organization's changing here. But you would think with all the stuff they have going on, they would not play Taj Gibson. But apparently, Taj Gibson is still playing. I think the minutes. I would have liked if Robinson would have started. He could have had a little bit higher of a ceiling. I think his minutes are still pretty safe in that 24 to 26. But you just never really know with the Knicks. At that center position.
I mean, you want to play Julius Randle. This is going to be all Julius Randle. He's literally going to he's going to play point. He's going to play power. He's just going to do everything, try to do everything himself. Yeah. Now, efficiency might be a problem.
42, I'm giving him an extra 1.5. I'm going to see how that pops up in my builds once we get off the show here. Let's see here. Anything else in here? A couple people want to know. Give me a couple people want to know on the Yahoo, a couple of your other favorite targets over there.
I mean, LMA is too cheap. It's the usual suspects, but the sneaky play that I like is Markelle Fultz.
Fultz is too expensive, I think, on Draftkings. I think I might have even X'd him out of my pool. No, he's still in here, but I wasn't really getting any. But yes, he is too cheap on Yahoo. I would definitely agree with that one. RJ Barrett's off the bench. I would not play RJ Barrett tonight, people. Chandler Hutchinson, in or out. Chandler Hutchinson is in. He's someone you can play in basically any format tonight. Is there a decent pivot off of White in Chicago? He's got him in 10 out of 10, right? The projections are liking him. I'm underweight on Kobe White tonight. These shooters who don't do too much else, I know he's going to probably take 15 shots tonight. I'm hoping he shoots like 30% and has like a high teens, low 20s fantasy point and really doesn't get you anywhere in a tournament tonight. They're looking for a swerve off of him. You got anybody? I can pull it up by salary. We can go down here and see what we can find.
He's the guy I like. I said it before. So I think he's going to jack a ton of shots in this game. So I like him. But if I were to have to go somewhere else, I mean, the guys that project in his range.
He's point guard, shooting guard. I'm going to throw a couple.
I mean, I would take Rondo.
I like Rondo. I think MCW can certainly outdo him in a tournament without question. If, Patty Mills, Reggie Bullock's down there too. Bullock's going to be pretty popular, but I think I don't know if I'd rather play Bullock, but you could save yourself some money and do that. I think there's plenty of options. If you don't want to play Kobe White, you can just avoid this tier altogether because I think they're all pretty questionable, and there's ways almost all of them can fail. But I don't think there's any problem not playing a lot of Kobe White tonight.
Okay. I like him. But if I was fading him, I would just go all the way down to Archie Diacono.
Yeah, I have a reason. I think I had like 10% Archie Diacono in some of my builds too. So I think he's also pretty good. Devin has informed me, guys, this is the final time I'm going to say it. We are at 176 likes out of 200 over on the YouTube. We will make the DVA tool free if we get that to 200 likes tonight. Go hit it for the people, for the suits, for Kirkwood, for Devin. 24 clicks of a button over on YouTube, and we make the DVA free for everybody tomorrow. DraftKings single entry, Whiteside and LaVine or Embiid and Ball/Holiday. That Whiteside LaVine is clear chalk. Would you swerve off of that? I would 100% swerve to Embiid for sure to get a little different.
Embiid Holiday.
Yeah, Embiid and Ball and Holiday. You're getting like way lower ownership and just as high of a ceiling almost, in my opinion. So I think that's a good play over there. So
I love Holiday tonight.
Yeah, I love Embiid. So we're on the good plays here. Oh, we hit the likes, guys. So thank you for hitting the likes, everybody. We appreciate it, and you guys will get the DVA tool for free if you aren't RotoGrinders premium members. The best spend up tonight. So let's go to all positions. I'm not really on Harden. I don't think I got a single Harden share. If you're spending up on Harden today, your lineup's going to look pretty different than a lot of other people. I do like Giannis at 11-1. I think LeBron and Westbrook are pretty comparable. Looks like we have Westbrook coming in a little bit lower owned. If you like to play the ownership game, maybe a little more Westbrook than LeBron, and then AD and Embiid also look extremely juicy. I don't really think you can go wrong. I think the wrong choice is spending up on Harden, but now Harden's going to drop 85 fantasy points on him.
So all these guys project really closely. Yeah. Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, Dame, LeBron, Harden, Giannis. Then you go down to like Embiid, Whiteside, LaVine. But all these studs are in play, and ownership is completely spread out tonight, it looks like. So, I love Dame tonight, to be honest with you. I love that game environment in general. I understand you're paying a premium for him. It's like from a median projection, it's probably not the best play based on past history, but he's just such in his own. I'm throwing out that last game where they just completely were out of whack and, just played terribly. And this is a much better game environment for them. And I think he just goes nuts.
All right. So I've reset. I've updated to get the latest fantasy point projections and projected ownership. I've made a bajillion different changes to lineup HQ. I'm going to build some lineups here. You can't see my screen, can you? Or you're not on the screen share, are you?
I'm not, but
yeah, head over there. Go take a look at it. It should be in the Zoom chat for you. and we can take a look. Somehow, I don't know what just happened, but 65% Pat Connaughton is not something I'm interested in here. So let's go.
Yeah, get rid of that.
Let's go tone down Mr. Pat at 3,400. So what are we projecting for him? I get it, but I don't think I need more than like 5% Pat Connaughton, even if our projections sort of agree with that. Let's see here. Let's see. We've got 40 lineups, and this looks much more in line with what I wanted to play here. So I got Aldridge, Hutchinson. So Hutchinson, I'm sort of torn on. I don't know if I want to go that much over the field. Are you? I mean, you do like Hutchinson. I like Hutchinson quite a bit, but I think I'm fine having him and Cornette basically around the same ownership. I don't need to have that much Hutchinson, correct?
Yeah, you don't have to. I mean, this is Chandler Hutchinson chalk night. So like this scene. Like I bet you Blender is like fading this guy.
Yeah, it's just I like him. I'm gonna knock him down. I don't think I want more than maybe like a 45% Chandler Hutchinson. I mentioned Ingram. It looks like Ingram dropped. I like Brandon Ingram. I'm gonna make sure I get a good healthy amount no matter what I do in all my builds coming forward. Embiid is definitely someone I'm targeting. I've mentioned that a couple of times. I'm doubling the field up on Embiid. There's a couple people out in Philadelphia, and his history against Brook Lopez and the Bucks is absolute. It's like the most insane head-to-head matchup I've ever encountered looking at these things. And if Embiid's just dominating Brook Lopez time and time again, I'm going to think maybe he can do that again. Satoransky, Thad Young. We didn't really talk too much about Thad Young. He goes out there and he does what he does. He's not going to be the reason you lose. Can he be the reason you win a tournament tonight, though?
Thad Young?
Yeah.
He can be fine. I mean, he's not. I don't see him going absolutely ballistic. I mean, the pace certainly suits him well, and he's someone that if he gets a block and steal game, especially like on a FanDuel or Yahoo, then yeah, he could do it. I don't think he's going to break the slate on DraftKings for you.
Yeah, you need like this the higher end, the low 30s to like a mid 30s game out of him to really have him start showing up in the top.
I've got my hot take.
What do you got?
Julius Randle outscores Zach LaVine tonight.
All right, where's Randle? So I boosted him up, and I got 8%, which is basically with the field. So go over this one more time. Tell the people why you like Randle, and then we're gonna get on.
First off, so the Magic are a good defensive team. We know that, right? But like the one spot you can attack them is at the power forward position, 17th in DVP. They're on a back-to-back in a tough game last night with Boston. And just think about the team he's playing with, right? Like just think about that starting lineup. It's a bunch of low usage players. Elfrid Payton, who won't shoot. It's Frankie Nicotine, who won't shoot. Bullock will shoot for three, but he's going to be standing in the corner. He's got to, he'll be the dish out guy. And then Taj Gibson, old Taj. So it's like Randle is going to see massive usage in this game. And so I think he can get it done.
Yeah, if he gets those high 40 fantasy points or higher, even at the high price tag, he can certainly get there tonight. So I'm going to bump him. You like him. The field's going to be at 9. I don't have too many lineups, but I'm going to get 15% Julius Randle tonight.
Woo!
So I'm really going all in. All right, that's going to do it for Grinders Live. I always like to put a little twist on these, talk a little bit more tournaments, and with just 5 games, give you a little insight into what I'm trying to pull off on my lineups tonight. You got Chris Kirkwood, the Yahoo Master over here as well. We got the DVA for free for everybody. Thanks to all you guys for hitting the like button. Again, the single entry series over on FanDuel. If you want to play the single entry RotoGrinders sponsored tournament, you can head over to that. That's on FanDuel, and also the Sharpside app. Go download that. Get the streaks. Mine was Aaron Gordon rebounds. Hit the over on that. And Mr. Kirkwood, he liked the Hassan Whiteside over on rebounds if you're looking for a couple of lock bets to throw on over on Sharpside. Chris, it's been fun. Till next time, I'm Britt. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we out ya.